There will be spoilers ahead. Lots of spoilers, so be careful, won't you? Max Mike Movies.
God, my chest was killing me.
Sorry, Les. We're doing an addendum to our last series. This 2-episode hitch is called Be Adjacent to the Cor-Man, and we're going to be looking at movies Roger Corman produced and where some other talent got their start. This week, it's the directorial debut of Ron Howard, his film Grand Theft Auto, which has nothing to do with the video games of the same name. What also has nothing to do with those games is our host, Max Crumbun Levine. Pull us over, Max.
All right, Bonnie Oldfield, where's the fire?
And I am Mike 12 Dwarf Loose. Those are deepers, but this episode's a keeper. So let's get to it and your answers to our poll question. In case you hear any background noise, it's because Max and I are coming to you live. Well, we were live when we recorded this.
Yes.
From our home office in Scottsdale, Arizona. But
please buy pants.
Pants. Many worldwide pants. But enough about that. Last episode, if you'll recall, we asked what favorite literary character of yours has been adapted into film multiple times. These are who you liked in words and things. Nick Hoffman started things off on Facebook with, quote, "I'd have to say Dracula and Frankenstein, two of my favorite novels. Not always adapted well, but nonetheless repeatedly attempted," end quote. Well, those are numbers 2 and 3, respectively, of the most adapted characters.
And both of them have met Abbott and Costello.
On Mars. Thanks, Nick. Tim Potter offered, quote, "For me, it's Hercule Poirot."
Ah oui.
I don't think my jaw can... Hercule Poirot. No,
You don't have enough of a mustache to say that.
I don't. I'll try later. He continues, "I love Agatha Christie stories, read a lot of them over the years, but Poirot is my favorite of hers. He has been portrayed by many different actors over the years, but I think I liked Pete Ustinov's interpretation the best."
My boy Pete, yeah.
Close friends, end quote. I have a feeling you won't be alone here, Tim. Thanks. Tony Kellner offered a simple, elegant, quote, "Sherlock Holmes," end quote. And he is number 1. Thanks, Tony.
Looks more like number 2, if you know what I mean.
What does he mean?
I'll tell you later. It's disgusting.
Keith Wright, actor on that fabulous podcast, Cue Footsteps, went outside the box with, quote, "Blade."
Oh.
Even though the films could have been better, it was one of the first times that a black superhero was the lead in a film. Very true, and sadly still kind of true.
Yeah.
Although I have hopes for the new Captain America.
Oh, yeah. That could be good.
Continuing on with Keith, now we need to have a gay superhero with their own movie, end quote.
We have Batman and Superman.
Together.
Oh, please.
In a hotel.
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you, Keith. Dr. Rebecca Pelkey wrote, quote, "I agree with Dracula, the OG, and also the March Sisters and Little Women. All 4 of them. I mean, they made Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, so why not Little Women and Vampires," end quote. Adam Mark pointed out that they did make a Little Women and Werewolves movie, so why not indeed?
Of course they did.
Thanks, Becca. Tyler Stewart didn't quite get the memo, or he just writes his own rules. He said, quote, "Does Doctor Who count? There were 2 films in the 60s, but it's the TV series that have the regenerations," end quote. I pointed out that this wasn't a literary character first, so he added, quote, "I do like me my Spider-Man adaptations," end quote. Awesome. Thanks, Tyler. Adam Mark, aiming for another high grade on those weekly essays, sent, quote, "It's hard for me to give an answer. The issue with a literary character like Bond, Batman, etc. is that they remain a bit of an enigma in order to sustain the franchise over the years. They really cannot have their own character arc, besides their backstory, which in some cases changes a lot. That's not Adam, that's me. Because they are tied to the franchise. They need to start fresh with each interaction, so any setback, injury, or challenge in the immediate story must be forgotten or brushed aside in the next script. To me, Bond, Batman, etc. aren't really interesting as individuals. They're almost cardboard cutouts. It's the villains who really shine," end quote. Another A+.
Well done.
Thank you, Adam.
Stay after class.
No. Val Coons, director of Cue Footsteps.
Cue Footsteps!
And tallest woman in her household, posted, quote, "Robin Hood is one of the first that came to mind. From Errol Flynn to Cary Elwes, the portrayals have always been mostly delightful." Kevin Costner. We'll just step around Kevin Costner.
Speaking of which.
Here are a couple you probably won't get from anyone else. One is Jo March, Little Women. We did, though.
Sure.
I am so connected to that character, having been the girl who was scribbling out stories almost as soon as she could spell, and a tomboy to boot. Another, a pair actually, Beatrice and Benedict from Much Ado About Nothing. Their banter is so much fun, end quote. Ooh, Robin Hood.
Don't you worry, never fear. Robin Hood will soon be here.
Yeah, do not worry at all. Yeah. But I'm surprised it took that long to get to Robin Hood. Thank you, Val. Matt Reisman had a few to choose from. Quote, "I can't decide between D'Artagnan, Merlin, and Robin Hood," end quote. Ooh, very swashbuckly.
Wow. Yeah,
thanks, Matt.
Cool. Very English, but except for the French guy.
For me, there's really only one standout Merlin adaptation. I wonder if you have the same one I do.
I guess Nicole Williamson.
That's the one.
Yeah, he's terrific. I mean, I'm ambivalent about the movie Excalibur in general. I think it's very uneven, but I think he is probably my favorite version of Merlin.
And I did memorize the Charm of Making. Still
That's right.
Hasn't worked very well, but anyway. Diggsy O'Brien gave us, quote, "For sheer numbers and variety, it has to be Dracula. Serious, romantic, poetic, funny, stage-bound, musical, animated, Defula."
What?
Any shade or flavor can work with the Lord of the Undead. Let's face it, anything that's Nicolas Cage-proof must have some power to it, LOL, end quote. I had to look up Defula. It's a 1975 horror film shot using ASL, the first film to do so. So, well, thanks, Diggsy.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
Me either. Vince was last, shouting down from the Great White North.
Translated from Canadian.
Yeah, they speak English there, you know.
Oh, you sweet summer child.
Vince, anyway, said, quote, "Sherlock Holmes has always been a fave, and I think overall has been treated the best by his appearances in both movies and TV. Though some examples are not good, the character manages to shine through, which I can't say for characters like Dracula and Frankenstein, who I both love in book form, but often stray too far from the literary versions. I have a huge place and heart for Captain Nemo in the Disney version of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. James Mason captured him for me, even though his appearance strayed from the book." I think he's actually Indian in the book, but
Oh, yeah.
"Other interpretations I really haven't cared for," end quote. All good answers. Thanks, Vince. What about you, Max? Who's your favorite literary so-and-so best captured on film?
Oh, boy. I know it's not terribly original, but I got to go with Sherlock. I think the variations they've done on him and just the wide range of how many different interpretations and different ways of portraying him they've done is just a lot of fun for me. But I do have to say I have a special place for King Arthur. Because you get everything from Holy Grail to Excalibur to where they're portraying him as a Roman soldier to where you're portraying him as basically a goofball who fell into the role, or even in Disney. So I'd say those two. What about you?
So it's, for you, it's number one is Holmes on the Range?
Indeed, where the deer and the antelope are murdered.
By whom? Exactly. Is it Moriarty?
It is Moriarty, the deer and antelope killer.
Yeah. Well, I bet everyone is probably thinking, I know what Mike's going to say. His favorite literary character adapted to film is Ilsa, She-Wolf of the SS.
Well, yeah, you've read all the novels.
I hope there aren't any. I really do. I'm going to, it's... in a way, it's not a very good example, but I'll probably go with Bond, if for no other reason that I've been watching his movies for over 40 years. And I have not read any of the books, but I'm betting that in most cases, the movies are so much better than the books. At least they have a lesser percentage of misogyny and, yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
So yeah, I'll go with Bond for my favorite. I do like some Sherlock Holmes, and I do like some of the other ones. I don't know Little Women well enough to even...
I haven't seen enough. I've only seen like 2 or 3. And I mean, the characters in there and the characters in Pride and Prejudice, who I've seen like 4 different versions, including one that did in fact have zombies in it. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah. But that was then, and this is now. And now we need more answers. We would like to know, who was your favorite child star? Who did you write letters to, enter contests in Tiger Beat magazine for, pine for until you passed puberty and learned better?
They're dreamy.
Oh, Sean Cassidy, he's so...
Yes, for whom did you squee? There we go. Let us know, but later. For now, we have to do this stuff.
The facts.
Trivia. Once again, we're talking about, what is the name of this film, Max? I have suddenly forgotten the name of it.
Grand Theft Auto.
Thank you. Grand Theft Auto, as directed by Richie Cunningham.
That's Opie Cunningham.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it isn't. It's Opie Taylor. Budget. A cool $600K. Ooh. It's pretty big for the Cor-Man, even though he didn't direct.
Yeah.
But can Richie make his money back? Hell yes! This film pulled in an amazing $2.5 million initially, and finally a tally of $15 million.
Wow.
That is the Cor-Man way.
That is the core magic.
Yeah. All those kiddie roles and being Richie Cunningham really paid off for the first-time director Ron Howard. Instead of being unsure of himself and nervous, according to his cast and crew, he knew exactly what he wanted from his first day on set.
Oh.
Way to go, Opie!
All right. I guess he learned a valuable lesson from Paul.
Sure. And Aunt, what's her name?
Yeah. Aunt May.
And yes, because later he would know.
Yeah.
This film has the dubious honor of being the first film HBO showed 3 times in one day.
Really?
Yes, not the first film they showed.
Yeah,
but,
okay.
Yeah. I'm sure you remember the young woman who caught the bouquet tossed by Paula at her wedding at the end of the film.
Best character in the movie.
Well, she was a 16 magazine contest winner. So way to go, teen queen.
She must have been so proud.
She probably was, yeah. Roger Corman offered to finance this movie in exchange for Ron's appearance in the 1976 film Eat My Dust, a film that looks hauntingly like this week's entry. It also gave us the tagline, Ron Howard pops his clutch and tells the world to eat my dust.
Oh,
That's where that comes from.
I remember that. I remember those ads.
Yep. Speaking of that film, this movie is sort of, kind of a sequel to that one if you squint real hard and realize that none of the characters are the same. That film cost half what this one did and only made $5 million, so win for Ron. In true Corman fashion, none of the scenes shot on the LA freeways were done with a permit.
Of course not.
Also, in true Cor-Man efficiency, this movie was shot in a mere 15 days.
Wow, that's like a marathon shoot for him.
Yeah. Speaking of the Cor-Man, supposedly he told Ron, quote, do a really good job on this one, kid, and you'll never have to work for me again, unquote. And I don't know if I wasn't able to look, but I don't think he did.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Believe it or not, and I do find this hard to believe, hard to believe.
Yep.
There were only 2 Rolls Royces used in the making of this film.
Wait, those were real Rolls Royces?
Real Rolls Royces. And you have to understand something about Rolls Royces. They do not retain their value. They are really cheap used cars.
No kidding.
Nobody wants a used Rolls Royce. Nobody.
I had no idea. I just assumed they were insanely expensive forever.
And, they are to maintain.
Oh.
Yeah. This movie was originally written by Ron's dad, Rance, as a vehicle.
Oh, you see with the cars and the vehicle. Oh, I see what you. You're fired.
I suppose you do get a chance. So Rance wrote this as a vehicle for Burt Reynolds. But when the deal to direct for the Cor-Man came up, Ron took the script, rewrote it, and made it mostly his own. Ron was only 23 when he made this movie.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah. This is the only movie that Ron Howard directed in which he also starred, and perhaps that's a good thing.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Not as much trivia as some movies, but who cares? It's Ron Howard! Unless Max has some trivia or objections?
Not really, except that this movie did come out. You're talking about Burt Reynolds. It came out the same year that Smokey and the Bandit did.
We will get to that. I have a little trivia of that later on.
Yep.
They were a month apart.
No.
Guess which came first?
Actually, I don't know.
We'll find out later. I'm not going to tell you. But let's get to the story, shall we? Rich girl Paula has done the unthinkable. She's fallen in love with a ne'er-do-well named Sam who hasn't a penny to his name.
Oh, my pearls.
Oh, my penny. And Paula's father isn't only rich, he's a candidate for California governor. So
His name is Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No, it's...
Yes, right. You can't marry my daughter. I will crush you.
Are you going to let me tell the story or not?
I like mine better.
Too bad. So when she shows up at the family mansion with Sam in tow, declaring her love and their plan to go get married in Las Vegas, well, the toupees start to fly, I can tell you. Sam is sent packing. Paula sent to her room, but this can't stop these star-crossed lovers. Paula sneaks out, steals her dad's Rolls Royce, picks up Sam, and they speed off to Nevada. Dad figures it out and hires Ron Howard's dad and his crack team of guys in suits to bring her back. Things get quickly out of hand when a reward is placed for their return, 25,000 big ones, and it's broadcast over the only radio station in LA, KTMQ. Live. So, a whole bunch of people, including a priest, 2 randos, a car full of lowriders, a pickup full of dynamite-tossing hicks, and Paula's fiancé, at least fiancé as far as her parents are concerned, come zooming after them as their location is broadcast live over the radio. There are crashes, thrills, and spills galore as things explode all over the place, ram into other things, all while the 2 young lovers just try to make it to the church on time. It's a wild, crazy ride that's not at all legal. Woo-ha!
Darn you, Duke boys.
They're going to be a peck of trouble.
The film.
So,
Yeah.
to get rid of that trivia that I was talking about earlier, there was a bunch of these types of movies in the 70s.
Yes. In the late 70s, this was a huge thing. Not just car movies, but CB radio movies.
Yeah, and as it turns out, Grand Theft Auto, actually I take it back, it came out a month after Smokey and the Bandit. So
Aha!
although he shot it in 15... No. I honestly think that who knows, maybe actually somebody had read Rance's script.
Maybe.
And said, well, we don't want to do this one for Burt Reynolds, but we'll do this other one, which is almost exactly the same. Kind of. Yeah, actually, it is... The plot is haunting...
No. There's a runaway bride.
There is, and she's supposed to marry the sheriff.
She's being chased by her fiance.
Yeah. But it's entirely Enos-free.
Yeah.
There was also Gumball Rally in 1976.
That's right. Later turned into Cannonball Run.
Yeah. There was a film called Cannonball Run. There was that too.
Based on the same idea, the illegal cross-country car race.
That was until 1981, though.
Yeah.
We had Eat My Dust, which was more or less the prequel to this in 1976. And while I have not seen that film, I have watched the preview, and hauntingly familiar. Not exactly the same. I don't think there's a bride in it, but there is Ron Howard zooming away and wearing I think he's wearing a Union Civil War cap.
Oh dear. Okay.
Well, no, Union's good.
Oh, right. Does he have the sideburns?
But I think there might be a Confederate flag in there somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah. But we also had in 1976 Every Which Way But Loose, one of the best ape movies. What do you know from ape movies?
According to I'm a great student of ape law.
Yeah. Then we, if you want to actually really turn the clock back to films not entirely unlike this, I got to go with It's a Mad World in 1963.
Yeah, okay.
But you know what came out 2 days before Smokey and the Bandit that year, 1977? Star Wars.
Oh, well, no wonder it tanked.
That was a busy summer. We had Star Wars, Grand Theft Auto, and Smokey and the Bandit.
There are other ones in there like Citizens Band. I can't remember the others. There were a whole bunch of car chase, Oh, that was the one I was thinking of. 1977, The Blues Brothers.
Was it 77 or 79?
pretty sure I will. Oh, 1980.
Oh, 80. I was going to say, I thought
but it's the same era.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, there's a bit more to the chase in Blues Brothers because they're actually trying to get a band together.
Oh, yeah. No,
it's not,
that's a superb movie and a great musical, but I'm just saying that's the one where John Landis decided he was going to set the record for most cars wrecked in any movie, which a record I believe stood until the second Matrix movie.
You know what? See our entire episode on the Blues Brothers because I'm pretty sure you covered that. Yeah,
good for me.
Shall we do?
Yes, let's talk about the cast.
So number 1,
Opie Cunningham.
So here's Ron Howard.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, being Ron Howard.
Yeah. Look, Ron, terrific director. Adequate actor.
Sure.
I mean, he's not bad.
No.
He's just...
There's nothing new here.
No. We've seen this. We've seen the character. We've seen him.
I'll say he's a little bit randier than Richie Cunningham generally was.
Yeah.
And there's actually one scene in particular that I thought was fairly well done, and it's late in the film when he and his fiancée, his girlfriend, are having second thoughts, and it's this argument about, we should stop doing this. You did something wrong, and I don't think you really love me, blah, blah, blah. And the cool thing about this scene, I thought, was that both of them had good points.
Yeah.
It was like, I can see her point, I can see his point, and they basically just have to throw it away and get back together. And for some stupid reason, not switch cars when they've suddenly gotten off the radar, and they have total ability to not be followed in a Rolls Royce.
They're in a junkyard full of other cars. They could have probably hot-wired something.
Or, glued a box to the top. I don't know. But
they're driving one of the most distinctive cars on the planet, The only thing worse would be if they were driving the Batmobile.
Yeah. So, Ron's fine. There is something a little squeaky about Ron Howard.
Squeaky?
Yeah.
How do you mean?
Well, even just like sonically, he's kind of squeaky.
Yeah, it's true. His voice is very high-pitched. And it does have a bit of what they call a burr in it.
Oh, what's a burr?
That's like that.
Oh, okay. But he's fine. I think he will prove that he actually ends up in the end being a far better director than he is an actor. Not that saying he's a bad actor.
He's better at directing.
Yeah. Nancy Morgan's next as his girlfriend, Paula Powers.
She's there.
And I think this is one of the things Ron may have learned from the Corman.
That's right. Hi, don't want to give you a personality.
Yeah, or much to do. Well, she drives the car.
Fact that I don't understand why at one point, again, right after they have the big talk, he takes over driving, and I'm actually sitting there going, why? She's been kicking ass in that car.
Yeah.
She has been playing games of chicken with helicopters. She's been dodging dynamite. Let her drive!
Well, you know perfectly well why they switched.
Can't have a woman driver.
There you go. Yep. He's the man. He needs to be in charge. That's what that whole argument was about. Okay. Next, we have the mom, who is played by Elizabeth Roger, Priscilla Powers. She exists there. Yeah, fine.
She doesn't do anything except pretend to drink and... That's it, really.
Yeah. The father, whose name is Big B Powers, because no one's voting for you. I'm just telling you right now. I don't know what your platform is, but nobody is voting for Governor Big B.
No.
That's Barry Cahill. Don't know him from anything. He plays a cartoon character, and I think he's fine.
He's all right. He's a little hammy, but it fits.
Yeah. Then... And I think the most lines I've ever seen him deliver is Rance Howard, who has been in more films than... most everybody.
Yeah, been in like 300 movies. Yeah. It's Ned Slinker.
Slinkman.
How about Marion Ross?
Well, wait, let's go back to Rance real quick. Rance, I think, is fine. He plays a fixer? Or
he's kind of a fixer, half security consultant.
But he pulls one of his signature stunts, and here's the thing about Rance.
Oh, yeah.
Rance apparently continued doing stunts long past the point where he probably should be doing them.
He was jumping off of trains in Lone Ranger in his 80s.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have been.
And he does one in this film, and I'm pretty sure it's him all through it. The car is moving, and he opens the door and basically steps out.
And does the bit of running along, trying to match the speed, and then falls on his face and gets up.
Yeah. And
that's him all the way.
I will give Rance points just for that.
Seriously.
Marion Ross.
I will not. My brain will never be clean again after watching Marion Ross give the finger to a cop.
Hey, for me, the whole film was worth it just for that.
Oh, God.
I mean, Has Marion Ross ever shown a lot of range? Mm-mm. But she's at least a little fun in this, so...
She just tends to play everybody's mom, or later grandmom.
Well, in this case, she plays the mom of the supposed... Or it's sort of an arranged marriage thing, because they're rich people, and of course rich people can only marry rich.
Hedworth.
Yeah, who's in there too, but that's played by Paul Link, or Linky, I don't know. I don't know him.
Also a cartoon character, really.
Yeah, and it's fine. I mean, this film is not about character development. Or arcs or anything.
It's not about character development. It's not about plot. It's not about acting. It's about kaboom!
Yeah, so...
Or excuse me, vroom, vroom, kaboom.
Yeah. Kaboom's also a cereal.
Oh, yeah.
We have Don Steele as Curly Q Brown, a name that I don't understand where he got it because his hair is very, very straight.
Yeah, but Don Steele we have seen in a bunch of Corman and Corman-adjacent movies, or we would have if we had in this series. He is Screamin' Steve from Rock and Roll High School.
Okay.
And he is the commentator in Death Race 2000.
Okay.
He does, basically that's what he does, is he plays DJs.
Oh.
He may have been one, I don't know. I didn't care enough to look.
And then we're kind of down to the... Oh, no, we have Hoke Howell as the preacher.
Hoke Howell is the preacher. Who I remember watching that and going, that guy looks really familiar. And then it's like, no, I don't know him, but he looks like 8 other actors.
I think he has literally been in many, many things as a character.
Yeah.
I will say that the performance by his hairpiece in this particular film was not one that I would rate generally very highly, but, hey.
You know, it's funny, speaking of movies in the 70s like that, there was a movie called Fun with Dick and Jane.
I remember the title.
I think it was George Segal and Jane Fonda.
Okay.
And at one point, they decide, they're yuppies, basically, who turn to crime. They rob a TV evangelist who's played by John Davidson.
Oh, the talk show host?
Yeah.
Okay.
And at one point there's a car chase, and he's going after them, and he's screaming Bible verses over a megaphone. It reminded me an awful lot of this.
Oh, I wonder if it was
I don't know
later,
which one.
though.
I think it was later.
Because I don't think John Davidson became a talk show host till the 80s. Because I remember wasn't he on Real People? No,
yes.
That's Incredible.
Yeah. That's Incredible. That's right. Yep.
Okay.
And of course, it would not be a Ron Howard movie without the appearance of Brother Clint as Ace.
Sure, I'm glad that it tells us what his character's name is.
Yeah, no one ever says it.
Yeah, he is there.
Yeah, he's another cartoon.
Yeah, everybody's a cartoon.
Yeah,
really.
I have to say the guy who plays his partner, Peter Isaacson. My first thought when I saw him was, is that Stephen King?
Oh.
It kind of looks like him.
Why, did he scare the hell out of you?
No, but he has that weird long Maynard's face. And, Yeah.
Yeah, so this is not a film you go to for acting.
No.
And I don't think anybody embarrasses themselves. I think they do what they're needed to do.
Well, they don't embarrass themselves by their acting.
Well, what do you mean?
Having to say some of those lines.
Give me an example.
Oh, brother.
You don't remember, do you?
Excuse me. Let me check my list. You want to pull over and fool around a little? At one point, Collins yells at someone, peasant.
Okay.
Oh, yes, when they're describing Colin, he's a turkey.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it was a big insult in the 70s.
You friggin' fruit stand. This is coming right when a guy has just blown up a fruit stand with a pack of dynamite.
Okay.
I'm sure there are more. Vegas Muscle, the Velvet Net, come on.
I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
It didn't stand out enough for me to really...
I thought the dialogue was terrible.
This film is not about
There's
dialogue.
also a really weird cameo in this. There's a mobster that Slinker calls up to get the Vegas Muscle. I was thinking while he's talking, that guy sounds just like Gary Marshall. And I was like, but it can't be. That doesn't make any sense. And I'm looking at the credits. It's Gary friggin' Marshall.
Best known as Werner Turner from...
And it's not what he's best known for.
No, Gary Marshall was a big producer.
Oh,
he was one
huge.
of the producers of the Happy Days, which I'm sure why Ron was like, hey, do you want to be in a movie?
You don't have to stand up or take your sunglasses off.
I will say, especially when I realized it was in fact Gary Marshall, I was, shall we say, not at all intimidated.
He's not much. He's not really much of a mobster.
Yeah, I mean, okay, sure. It's like Bing Crosby, assassin. probably not really scary.
Oh, that's right. I'm going to beat you to death with this bag of Florida oranges.
Unless your name's Gary. Yeah. Ooh, that's a deeper. So I don't know. I think, again, this is not an actor's film. It's an action fan.
It is. It's an action film. Yeah. It's a car chase film.
I did have to wonder. We opened at the Big B Power Mansion, and I was like, is that Rance's house?
I wondered.
Did you thought the same thing?
I did. I wondered if it was Rance's.
I didn't see anything in the trivia, but it's kind of like, idea. Why wouldn't you?
Sure.
Right? Because it's
or it could have been Corman's. Corman had a fair amount of money by then.
Well, especially he produced this, and even the Eat My Dust made $5 million.
Yeah.
There's $20 million on an investment of 1.1. That's.
I'm betting he had a nice house, and of course he would use it as a set.
Yeah. There's actually another. It's not really a cameo because they're behind the scenes, but there's another big name in this film who would later become bigger. The editor of this film was Joe Dante.
Oh, God, really?
Yeah, he got his start with Corman, too. So, I did notice that the soundtrack in this film is actually kind of funky.
It was very uptown.
I liked it. Yeah. It certainly fit better than last week's. Frankenstein Unbound. But
well.
I also have to wonder if you. There's one point where we come across this. They're having a meal. And it's apparently from a restaurant called Burger Product Placement King. Did you?
Yeah, I know. I have in my notes, suddenly I'm hungry for Burger King.
So I think product placement started becoming a thing in the 70s.
That late? Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because previously what would happen is movies would just use something.
Yeah.
And occasionally what would happen is the company in question, like Coke or whatever, would go, hey, you're using our trademark, you have to pay us money. And so the movies started going, the hell with that, we're just going to make up fake brands and not care. And then suddenly they were like, oh, well, could we be in your movie? We'll give you $1 and
give me a lot more of those, yeah.
And so you would get some really, really egregious product placement.
Oh, yeah.
The one that still strikes me the most is Godzilla 85.
Raymond Burr getting a. Suddenly, I'm thirsty for Dr. Pepper.
Well, there's these two people. I don't even think Raymond Burr's in the scene. I think it's two army guys standing in the hall of some army base, and right between them down the hall is a Dr. Pepper machine.
It's the center of the shot.
Yeah, lit up. Either that or the one in tape heads where they're trying to put up that Miller High Life sign, and they're like, "You need to take that down." Just gonna put it here. No, we're gonna take this. Yeah. But yeah, there is a scene where they are very pointedly eating Burger King, which I tell you right now, product placement people, we notice, and it's annoying.
Yeah, it does not make me crave Burger King.
No, and it also feels tacked on.
It does.
Because they almost like always sort of turn the cup to face the camera, like, oh, I think I'll just have a sip of this soda that happens to be nearby. Did you see where it's from? Yeah, so.
I do want to talk a little about the characters in the movie. The characters are all cardboard cutouts.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's the filthy Richingtons. And,
I love that show.
Yeah, it's like, no, I want you to marry Gold Mountainer over there so that I can win my race for governor, even though you don't like him. And I gotta say, the way they kept describing Colin as a flake.
It's Collins.
Collins. I didn't understand. It's like they didn't quite know what the word meant.
Well, he's an idiot.
Like, yeah, but flaky, that implies you're sort of scatterbrained or absent-minded, not stupid.
He goes through more cars than anybody else in this film.
I counted. Colin, in his attempts to catch them... To me, it's Colin. He doesn't get to be plural. He wrecks 6 vehicles, including an ice cream truck, which I still love that they use an ice cream truck in a car chase. Folks, I have driven an ice cream truck. You cannot get that thing over 45. It's almost impossible.
You can't even catch up to the kids.
Not to mention, you've got about 1.5 tons of freezer in the back.
Yeah, wow.
And these are not powered by, V6s.
Yeah. So the other thing is that they make him even more cardboard by deciding that he plays polo. Which they might do in California, but it is like the rich person's sport,
right? Absolutely. Like you have to own a horse, for God's sake.
There will never be intramural polo. Or city clubs for polo. So he's, there, and the parents are all very cardboard cut out. Yep. And, there's the overbearing, protective mom played by Marion Ross, who's like, my baby, my baby. And she actually offers her own $25,000 reward just to get him back.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah. It's amazing what you could get people to do for $50,000 in the 1970s. Like, this preacher literally leaves his
congregation and starts stealing cars. I mean, the title of this movie is dead on. There is an enormous amount of Grand Theft Auto in here.
Yeah. And in fact, none of the main characters or ancillary characters... No, I take it back. The Dynamite Boys don't steal their car, and the Lowriders don't steal their car.
Right. The lowriders definitely. Are you sure that? No, you're right. Because
they just take.
That's right. The good old boys have to have, because their truck is for some reason full of dynamite.
Well, even worse, we don't know why they're chasing them, because we have a scene where the Paula and Sam stop for gas, and we see the two guys looking at the credit card slip, and it's like, oh, who is that? I don't know. Her name's Paula Powers. Like, oh, I thought she was someone famous. Yeah, and the next scene, they're chasing them. I think Joe Dante cut something out he shouldn't have.
I think so. Yeah.
So yeah, there's no point in trying to care about characters.
No.
There's that moment again. There's that little argument, which I thought was well done, but otherwise it's just, are they going to get married or are they not going to?
I thought it was almost well done. It was too choppy. Obviously, you could see Ron is going, okay, we got to get through as quickly as possible. We've got to get it resolved, and then we get moving again.
There was one little piece of trivia I left out. Apparently, Ron was like, yeah, the film's wrapped, but there's this one scene I really want to redo. I think I want to go back tomorrow and redo it. And Roger said, cool, you'll be the only one there. It's like, nope, we're not going over budget.
Reshoot, what's that?
Yeah, because, there's a lot of shots of their chases being done, although you notice that the stuff that's actually on the freeway isn't very fast because they had no permits.
Yeah.
But I have to say, and I would like other people to confirm this with me, but the last time traffic was this light in L.A. was 1977.
Yeah, if then. They must have been blowing up things or like having people lie down in intersections to keep people from driving.
It's like...
It's empty.
If you ever go back and watch old episodes of Dragnet, both Joe Friday and Bill Gannon can get around no problem. Nobody's in their way out to the suburbs and back. Not an issue because there's just no cars.
It's like when you see a movie in New York and no one ever has problems finding a parking space.
Yeah, or that...
oh, look, there's one.
Or that chase scene in Blown Away where they're chasing each other down Memorial Drive during the July 4th concert.
Oh, yeah. I remember the audience just cracking up at that.
That was fun because everyone in Boston was like, no. You're not driving anywhere on July 4th. Forget it.
Yeah.
So, I will say that I think that a lot of the money spent on this film is on the screen.
It absolutely is. It's got to be the car. Because it's clearly not the salaries, because there's no names in this at all. But they go through an awful lot of cars, and the effects are not bad.
I mean, for what they are, the only effects we really have are the dynamite exploding. Otherwise,
a couple of the cars blow up too,
and they blow up real good.
Yes, and suddenly one of them will be going down, and suddenly it simply bursts into flames.
I love watching the vein on your forehead pop out when you do your Jackie Stewart. AFX racing, it's like the real thing.
Yep. Great race. We're going to have a great race today.
Yeah, and I sat there, especially because there's at least one Rolls Royce, and they're driving it really hard.
I don't know cars. I really have to wonder, how well would a Rolls Royce handle on the desert sand?
I'm going to go with one word. Not.
Yeah, I just assumed it would get bogged down in 2 seconds. Now, they do have... I mean, the thing's got a 6-cylinder engine. It's a very powerful car.
It might be bigger than that. I don't honestly know.
I looked it up if it was... Because they said it's a 1959, which I believe is a Silver Shadow.
Okay.
Except why would they paint it that awful?
Wait, it wasn't the White Shadow?
No, it was not. It was not Ken...
Ken, what's his name? Ken White.
Ken White guy. That's it.
Yeah. See, he's a white guy. And he's teaching in a black school because that's why he's the white.
That was a Silver Shadow. I don't know, maybe they made... I think they only made one model at a time, didn't they?
I don't know anything about Rolls Royces, except that they are, very heavy.
Yeah.
But they tend to have really good suspension because you want a very, very smooth ride. Now, that being said, I don't know that they ride very high off the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not low riders either, but...
I mean, the things they make these innocent cars do, it always gets... At one point in my notes, I have Clint and... Ace and... I don't know, Duncey, whatever the other guy is. Whatever the other guy is. When they're chasing... They're driving this hot rod that they allege to have built.
It's a Bugatti kit car.
Really?
Yep.
Oh,
It is a
wow.
vintage Bugatti racing kit car. I know it's not a real Bugatti because millions. So it's got to be a kit car.
At one point they jump out, and Clint's car makes a desperate bid for freedom as it drives away from him, goes around a dune, and for no reason explodes. I just figure it committed suicide.
Yes, I would agree. Although I also say that those, like, I want to say the Bugatti goes back to the 30s.
Oh, wow.
30s racing cars were not exactly all that stable. So I might give that one a pass for the explosion thing. Otherwise, the things that they do make cars do in this film are honestly right up there. Like, I got to say, for $600,000... we get our money's worth. And if you like car chases...
If you were going for car chases and car wrecks, you get them by the bowlful. And I mean, it even ends in a demolition derby.
Which I was kind of like, you know what? I'm going to give you points for this because you're like, you didn't have enough explosions up till now and cars crashing. Well, we're going to put it in a big stadium and just do it all together.
They also have some of the strangest car names spray painted on those...
the demos?
On the demos. One including Fist Power.
Yeah.
Like, what?
You know, Kit Fisto.
or this strange graffiti when they crash the wall says, Car 54 rules.
Yeah.
Huh? Is that like the Car 54, Where Are You?
Maybe it was Ron's favorite show.
It might have been.
I don't know. So yeah, after all of the chasing on what they say is Route 66, it's not. But they're out in the desert somewhere in California, just wrecking cars and throwing things sideways and stuff, and lots of things blowing up. They decide, how could we end this film better than just drive everybody into a demolition derby? And honestly, I will say, you sit there and you go, there's no way they're going to wreck the rolls. And they do spend most of the demo derby
dodging it,
somehow getting around. You're like, oh my god, because they're not going to kill a rolls. Oh no,
they kill it so hard.
I honestly think that it was somehow they were flipping somebody off, whether it was the rental agency or I don't know what. But that when because they take every car that can still move in the demolition derby and they just aim it right at the rolls and they just kill it. Like this is really a rolls we're killing. And I gotta say too, as I said, this film you can see the money on the screen, and it makes it seem more expensive than all the previous Corman directed films we watched for this series put together.
It really does.
Yeah, there's a helicopter that's always expensive. The last time we saw that was in X, the Man with the X-Ray Eyes.
The helicopter pilot is very strange too. At one point he turns into Nelson Muntz from The Simpsons and just goes, ha ha!
I wonder if that's where they got it. You never know.
You never know.
You never know. There was one point too where it's like, oh, where's the rolls? And they hold up the binoculars and they do that thing in Hollywood where they have the binocular cut out.
Yep.
Except it's at car level.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
wait, aren't you way
down?
up there?
Yeah, you won't be able to follow them if you're like on the same level they are.
Also, I want to know where they got the fuel tanks for that little chopper because that thing lasts an awfully long time and covers a hell of a lot of distance.
Also, is there any way to know that your audience actually wants to hear this? I mean, they probably do, but like this... They play almost no music.
Well, he talks about they've been getting a lot of calls. A lot of people have been calling in to see what's going on.
Well, and the reason I said this is the only radio station in LA is because everybody calls that radio station. The parents know about it. The kids know about it.
Every radio in every car we see is tuned to that station.
Yeah. That being said, I will say that I actually thought that the thread of having the disc jockey in there worked very well. Because
kind of a Greek chorus,
Kind of, because it gave something that was related to everybody else in the film. It also, in a pre-cell phone world, made it possible for them to keep track of what was going on, because back then you didn't have much choice.
Nope.
Now it's like, I slipped an AirTag into his trunk, and then,
And as, Sam Freeman, a.k.a. Ron, says, you're telling them where we are. And Curly Q keeps saying, I'm doing my job. I will keep reporting. Hell, at the end he wants to follow them to their honeymoon suite and report on their having sex. So I think at that point Curly Q's kind of gone bye-bye.
Well, he does. He actually drives through.
Drives through a house.
That was apparently a scene added on because they wanted to have a decent ending for that part of the film, which is fine because I actually was glad that. I mean, if you're rooting for anybody in the film, you're rooting for Sam and Paula.
Yeah.
And whatever. So I'm surprised you didn't make another mention about that fruit stand, because you realized that that was the Gallagher Memorial fruit stand.
There were no watermelons.
Not after they were done.
No. And shall we talk a little bit about a few of the Corman-esque stereotypes that get thrown in? The Vegas muscle, like basically all like, oh, hey, oh, yay, Vinny, Tony, Vito, hey, oh.
Well, now, why is that a Corman thing?
Because he does a lot of those.
He does?
Yes, he does. When there are any ethnic people in his movies.
White is an ethnic.
Yeah. They tend to be. And then the lowriders, although my first thought was, they've got a car full of Cheeches and Chongs.
Well, except
one of them sounded just like Cheech Marin.
Except you could tell it was not his real voice.
It was all looped in.
Yeah,
it had to be.
ADR, I believe, is the term for that.
ADR,
yeah,
okay.
I believe that. Additional dialogue recording. I believe that's what that stands for.
Ooh, aren't we bloody grand? Additional dialogue recording. No more buttered scones for me, mate, or I'm off to play the grand piano.
Fired.
Yeah.
Actually, here it's actually a great gig because they pay pretty well, and nobody knows who you are, and so you don't get followed around by Curly Q and the morning mattress of madness, or whatever. So, I will say that there is a point. There's a sort of a tipping point with car crashes and things like that, where you're like, yeah, I've kind of seen a lot of this.
Yeah.
I'm kind of done. And I would say that they cut that off just before they get to the Demolition Derby. But then in the Demolition Derby, I thought the Demolition Derby went on too long.
I did too. I think it's funny. It's one of the only scenes where I thought that.
Yeah.
Because we'll get to how Ron is as a director. But that scene, it stood out because it dragged. It was a little too long, which says something about the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
I also have to point out, while I complain about the script, the preacher is actually pretty funny. I still like when he's screaming, "Shut your engine off for Jesus, my son!"
Well, and he is such a caricature.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's such a money grubber. I suppose you could say that it's, making fun of religious people. Well, except that it's so obvious that he's only in it for the money anyway.
Yeah, it's not making fun of religion. It's making fun of people who see religion as a racket.
Right. We'll just end that comment there.
Yeah.
But he was fine. There was times when I did laugh, not out loud, but chuckles and stuff.
Oh, another Corman standard, and also just a sort of B-movie guy. It's a throwaway. I had to look this up.
Oh.
As I flip back to the page. The bride and groom who are driving in the honeymoon van that gets to decide to have sex in the back of it, blah, blah, blah. That's Paul Bartel, best known as the teacher from Rock and Roll High School.
Oh, God.
As in, who are the Ramones?
Yeah.
That's him, also from Eating Raoul and a bunch of other stuff.
Oh. It's funny because he's gay in Rock and Roll High School. Well,
nobody's gay. They hadn't invented gay people yet.
It's the 70s. They certainly had.
That's true. He certainly comes off that way.
Yes. I don't know. I'm getting close on my notes here.
Yeah.
How about you?
There's a few things like the rednecks are lobbing dynamite around.
Yeah, for reasons and stuff.
Which, first off, is stupid because they're going to they're trying to kill the people who they need alive.
Also, that guy's arm is amazing because he is throwing it well past the other car.
This guy's like an NFL quarterback. He's throwing it 60, 70 yards.
Yeah.
Although somehow never actually hitting the cars. It's very Warner Brothers cartoon kind of dynamite too, because first off, if you look closely, there are no blasting caps on that dynamite, and if there's no blasting cap, I don't care how hard you light it, it won't blow up.
It'll smoke?
It will smoke. And there's one sequence where it's just too much. It only happens when it's funny. Because they throw a bundle into the back of the cop car that the preacher's driving, and it doesn't go off for like 3 minutes. All the others go off in like 5 seconds, but it only goes off at the funniest moment.
That's the slow burning fuse, Max. You thought you would know about that. It's pink, not beige.
Oh, okay.
I'm so disappointed in your lack of knowledge.
I am very disappointed.
Yes. Only because it was funny. Yeah.
Yeah, he does it better.
Otherwise, I think I might be done with my notes.
Yeah, I'm good. The Finish.
So, Max.
Yeah.
Had you heard of this film?
I don't think so. I would think I mixed it up with Eat My Dust. which I'd never seen, but I remember seeing the previews back when I was a kid. But Grand Theft Auto, I did not know at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you didn't either?
No.
Yeah, you didn't know either, right?
I thought it was going to be... Actually, I had no idea what it was going to be about. I did not think it was going to have anything to do with kids wanting to get married against their parents' wishes and stuff like that. But so now you have heard of it.
Yeah.
I think. Have you heard of it?
Heard of what? Who are you?
I can never tell with Max.
Yeah.
So what did you think? It's Ron Howard's first film.
As a first-time director, just looking at the directing, it's not bad. He actually, the pacing is good. The action scenes are really good. The car stuff is terrific. All the rest of it is completely disposable.
But here's the thing. Do you want any more than that in an action film like this?
When we're talking about this genre and the other films I've mentioned, they're all like that. The plots are all tissue paper thin. The characters are all cliches or cardboard cutouts because they want you to learn about them as quickly as possible so they don't take away from the car driving and crashing.
Right.
So, no, it's just, this one seems dumber than a lot of the others. It really does. Smokey and the Bandit, some of that is, a lot of it actually, is intentionally funny. Any of the sequences with Jonathan Winters. Come on.
Well, all right.
There is no way you sprung from my loins. When I get home, I'm going to punch your mama right in the mouth.
Well, do you mean Jackie Gleason?
No? Was it Jackie?
He played the sheriff, yes.
Oh, God.
Buford T. Justice?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be Jackie Gleason.
I am wrong. Okay, yes, Jackie Gleason. He's hilarious. And that poor idiot who plays his son does the straight man. But in this, a lot of it, the dialogue, it's all dumb. It is just dumb. The humor is lame. I'm sorry. Some of it works. Like I said, the preacher's funny. A couple of the other things are funny. Watching Collins trying to do martial arts at the end is just like, oh, come on.
See, that made me laugh.
It made me gag, quite honestly. Although I did think it was pretty funny with the whole, oh, so that's how it is in their family, creepy thing with his mama.
Yeah.
The ultimate mama's boy.
Yeah.
I also do have to say, I think the happy ending thing is a little too quick. I mean, suddenly Bigby's like, oh, maybe she did choose the right guy. That guy's a flake. Call back to the opening scenes. Yeah, I'm sure we'll just forgive and forget about all the enormous amounts of property damage and auto damage and God knows how many crimes have been committed across state lines. What about you?
I'd never heard of it.
Yeah.
I certainly have heard of Ron Howard as a director. I think he's like a lot of Hollywood directors. There's films of his I really like, and there's films of his I don't think are as nearly as good. Spielberg's the same way.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think Spielberg hits it out of the park every time. Ready Player One. But especially for a first effort, I was surprised, and especially for being somewhat Corman-tainted. Because let's be fair, our track record or scorecard for Corman was not so great. I mean, Corman made money, good for him.
Yep.
I also think a lot of the thing with Corman was that it was of the time.
Yeah.
At the time when you went to go to a movie, you were looking for X, and he gave you X. Didn't give you anything more than that. And
he didn't lie to the audience. He said, this is what the movie looks like, this is what the movie's about. Except maybe Frankenstein Unbound, because there is no way he could have gotten that across.
I don't know. But I will say, I do remember seeing Smokey and the Bandit in the theater a number of times that summer. 3-4 times. Yeah. I was 12. If I had seen this film when I was 12, I would have loved it. None of the stuff that you brought up would have bothered me at all. I probably would have thought it was... Hell, I saw The Villain in the theater when it came out. Oh, dear. Which... my sister loves, but it's really not good.
Western parody?
It is the one where they play with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Kirk Douglas, where they do all of the Roadrunner and Coyote gags live.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just not funny. But I would have loved this when I was 12. And I honestly think, and this is probably why it made money, when Smokey and the Bandit came out, people wanted more. This was perfectly poised And they were like, yeah, cool, here's another one. And I bet people were fine with it. I don't think it's a classic. I don't think people went back to watch this like they might go back and watch. And to be fair, there are some much better scenes between Burt Reynolds and Sally Field than there are between Ron and what's-her-name in this. Especially there's a point where, because she can't stand him initially, which is understandable. But there's one scene where they sort of pull off and she gets a chance to sort of like get out of her wedding dress and get back into regular clothes. And she actually starts seeing him for a person that's actually kind of nice. Then, of course, we have, what's his name? And his stupid Jerry Reed and his stupid dog, Flash. Or not, wasn't Flash.
No, that's from Dukes of Hazzard.
Whatever.
You're munging your redneck stereotypes together.
It's not my fault. This film is much less Paul Williams in this film than there was in Smokey and the Bandit.
I liked him in Smokey and the Bandit. I thought he was funny.
Yeah. I will say that I think for its time, it was fine. And it did exactly what it meant to do. It meant to have you be mostly excited by cars chasing and blowing up and rooting for one person. And I like the thread of the DJ. I think it really does hold things together. In Smokey and the Bandit, I would say the thread is really, honestly, the CB.
Yeah, it's the radio.
But all things considered, I think it works fairly well. Do I think it holds up? Probably not.
Not very well, no.
No. I think, again, the money's on the screen. We every last cent, because I'm sure if Ron was smart, he didn't pay himself as much as an actor because... You know, hey, my name is going to bring people in probably because Happy Days was still very big at that point. And Rance, I'm sure, was like, you took my script, it's fine, you're my son. I'll just get you back in residuals. Or you can put me in your films.
Yeah.
And you have to put your brother in them.
Dad! Be nice to Clint.
So you know what, if you have a soft spot for car chase films, especially redneck car chase films of the 70s, made for less than $1 million, I would say sure.
Yeah, if you got, you want to kill an hour and a half. I mean, again, this is a Corman-esque movie, so it's 84 minutes, 85 minutes. You won't lose much time. It's fine. I would
still cut like 7 or 8 minutes out of that demo derby.
Yes.
And I would actually cut out. I thought there was too many people following. The guys with the dynamite, I didn't understand.
No, that didn't make any sense. And even the lowriders felt like an add-on.
Yeah, and I think actually they were. Yeah. So,
But again, first time effort, very impressive.
And you know what? I kind of enjoyed it in its junky kind of way. So, which is pretty much I think what you're meant to do.
Yeah.
But you know what you're also meant to do?
Wear cabbages on your feet.
No, you're meant to answer our poll question.
I gotta go.
Yeah. What is that smell? Ooh, it's like feet and coleslaw. Anyway, what we would like you to do is to answer our question, which is, who was your favorite child star? And maybe it's one that continued like Ron Howard or some other people, or maybe it was somebody who was just really good as a kid. I'll give you an example. Noah Hathaway in Neverending Story. Really great performance as a child star. Who is your favorite child star, and how can you answer that question?
How can you tell us, Mike? How will we ever learn? How?
Well, by listening to the other 297 episodes.
Or don't like it too easy, too pat.
No, it isn't. But it does get them to listen. Yep. Yay! You can email us directly at maxmikemovies.com. That suggests we have a website. We do. It is maxmikemovies.com, where you can leave comments. You can answer the poll question. You can give us ideas for series. You can give us ideas for films that we should watch or things that we should do. You can tell us you love the show. You can tell us you hate the show. Whatever. Just leave a comment. You can also find us on Facebook under Max Mike Movies. And if there is a podcast app, then we are on it as... Wait for it. Wait for it.
Crap.
Max Mike Movies.
Damn it!
But we are finally coming to the end of the Corman, although this is the addendum, the be adjacent to the Corman series. So we have one last film to go before our episode 300 super extravaganza.
Yep.
Which is, I promise, going to be shorter than the last 200 episode celebrations.
Yes, promise.
Yeah, but we're not telling you what that is yet, because we first have to find out what is the last movie in this realm of the Corman.
This is a peculiar one. Well, superhero movies are big these days. Everyone loves the MCU.
Yeah, well...
What was the first of the MCU, Mike?
Oh, I have to go back to Japanese Spider-Man on TV.
No, I think it's Italian Spider-Man. But
Oh, well, that's a film.
no, the first movie.
Boy, I don't know. Would it have been that Red Brown Captain America movie?
It could have been, but around the same time, roughly, is, of course, everyone's favorite, Fantastic Four.
Wait.
The first family of Marvel.
Wait.
Everyone loves the Fantastic Four. Look at how many times they've been redone.
You're talking about the 2000s one that had one of the Chris's in it as
Nope.
Johnny.
I am not.
No.
Nor am I talking
Oh, the
about
one after the Silver Surfer.
Fan Four Stick? No, not that one either.
No,
I am talking about the one produced by, but not directed by, Roger Corman.
Oh, Max, there is no such thing. You can't prove it.
I can, although technically it doesn't really exist in Hollywood terms because the movie was never released.
Well, then how are we going to watch it?
There are always ways. It's out there. And folks, this is a movie that was so bad, Roger Corman did not want to release it. Let that sink in. And we're going to watch it for you.
But maybe we'll like it. And maybe monkeys fly flat out of my butt.
That could also happen. Check in. You'll see. This has been a co-production of The Voice of Max and The Movie Wrench.